Hello everyone, welcome to this channel, the underscore metaphor. So we are in the series of the power of now, and in this video I'm going to provide the content on chapter 3, moving deeply into the now. And before entering into the video, I have the request to all, please like, comment, share and subscribe the channel. Okay, let's begin the video. Chapter 3, Moving Deeply into the Now. Don't seek yourself in the mind. I feel that there is still a great deal I need to learn about the working of my mind before I can get anywhere near a full consciousness or spiritual enlightenment. No, you don't. The problem of the mind cannot be solved on the level of the mind. Once you have understood the basic functions, there isn't really much else that you need to learn or understand. Studying the complexity of the mind will make you a good psychologist, but doing so won't take you beyond the mind. Just as the study of madness isn't enough to create sanity, you have already understood the basic mechanics of the unconscious state, identifications of the mind, which create a false self, the ego, as a substitute for your true self rooted in being. You become as a branch cut off from the vine, as Jesus puts it. The ego's needs are endless, it feels vulnerable and threatened, and the soul lives in a state of fear and want. Once you know how the basic functions operate, there is no need to explore all its countless manifestations, no need to make it into a complex personal problem. The ego, of course, loves that. It is always seeking for something to attach itself in order to uphold and defend its illusory sense of self, and it will readily attach itself to your problem. This is why, for so many people, a large part of the sense of self is intimately connected with their problems. Once this has happened, the last thing they want is to becomes free of them. That would mean loss of self. There can be a great deal of unconscious ego investment in the pain and suffering. So once you recognize the root of unconsciousness as identifications with the mind, which is of course includes the emotions, you step out of it. You become present. When you are present, you can allow the mind to be as it is without getting entangled in it. The mind is itself is now dysfunctional. It is out of control. Dysfunction set in when you seek yourself in it and mistake it for who you are. It then became the egoic mind and takes over your whole life. In the delusion of time, it seems almost impossible to disidentify from the mind. We are all immersed in it. How do you tease of peace to fire? Here is the key. In the delusions of time, time and minds are inseparable. Remove the time from the minds and it's stop unless you choose to use it. To be identified with your mind is to be trapped in a time, compulsion to live almost exclusively through memory and anticipation. This creates an endless preoccupations with the past and futures, and unwillingness to honor and acknowledge the present moment and allow it to be. The compulsion arises because the past gives you an identity and the future holds the promise of salvation, of fulfillment in whatever form. Both are illusions. But without a sense of time, how would we function in this world? There would be no cause to strive to us anymore. I wouldn't even know who I am because my past makes me who I am today. I think time is something very precious and we need to learn to use it wisely rather than wasted. Time isn't precious at all because it is an illusion. What you perceive as a precious is not a time but the one point that is out of time, the now. That is precious indeed. The more you are focused on time, past and future, the more you miss the now, the most precious thing there is. Why it is the most precious thing? Firstly, because it is the only thing, it's all there is, the eternal present in the space within which your whole life unfolds, the one factor that remains constant. Life is now. There was never a time when your life wasn't now, now will there will be. Ever be. Secondly, the now is the only point that can takes you beyond the limited confines of the mind. It is your only point of access into timeless and formless realm of being. Nothing exists outside the now. Aren't past and futures as real, sometimes even more real, than the present? After all, the past demands who we are as well as how we perceive and behave in the present. And our future goes to determine whose actions we take in the present. You haven't yet grasped a sense of what I am saying because you are trying to understand it mentally. The mind cannot understand this, only you can. Please listen. Have you ever experienced, done, thought, or felt anything outside the now? Do you think you ever will? Is it possible for anything to happen or be outside the now? The answer is obvious. It is it not? Nothing ever happened in the past, it is happening now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in now. What you think of past is a memory of stress, a story in the mind of a former now. When you remember the past, you reactivate a memory trace, and you do. So now, the future is an imagined now, a projection of the mind. When the future comes, when future comes, it comes as now. When you think about the future, you do it now. Past and future obviously have no reality of their own. Just as the moon has no light of its own, but you can only reflect the light of the sun. So our past and the future is only plain reflection of light, power, and reality of eternal present. The reality is borrowed from the now. The essence of what I am saying here cannot be understood by the mind. The moment you grasp it, there is a shift of consciousness from the mind to being. But the time represents suddenly everything spins around radiates energy, united being, the key to spiritual dimension. The key to the spiritual dimension in the life-threatening emergency situation, the shift in consciousness from time to present sometimes happens naturally. The personality that has a past and futures momentarily recedes and is replaced by the intense conscious presence, very still but very alert at the same time. Whatever the response is needed then arise out of that state of consciousness. The reason why some people stop engaged in the dangerous activities such as mountain climbing, car racing, and so on, although they may not be aware of it, is that is the force them into now that intensely alive state that is free of time, free of problems, free of thinking, free of burdens of the personality, slipping away from the present moments even for a second may mean that. Unfortunately, the chemistry depends on the particular activity to be in that state, but you don't need to climb the north face to the eagle. You can enter the state now. Science, ancient times, spiritual master of all traditions have pointed to the now as a key to the spiritual dimension. Despite this, it seemed to have remained a secret. It is certainly not taught in the churches and temples. If you go to church, you may hear readings from the gospel such as "Take no thought for tomorrow, for the moral shall take thought for the things of itself," or "Nobody who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." Or you might hear the passages about the beautiful flower that are not anxious about tomorrow but live with ease in the timeless now and are provided for abundantly by God. The depth and radical natures of these teachings are not recognized. No one seems to realize that they are meant to be lived and so bring about profound inner transformations. The whole essence of Zen consists in walking along the razor's edge of now to be utterly so completely present that no problems, no suffering, nothing that is now or not who you are in your essence can survive in you. In the now, in the absence of time, all your problem dissolved, suffering this time and cannot survive in the now. The great Zen master in Chai, in order to take his students' attention away from time, would often raise his fingers and slowly ask, "What at this moment is lacking?" A powerful question that doesn't require an answer on the level of the mind. It is designed to take your attention deeply into now. A similar question in the Jain tradition is this: if not now, when? The now is also centered to the teachings of Sufism, the mystic branch of Islam. Sufis have a saying: the Sufi is the son of time present, and Rumi, the great poet and teacher of Sufis, declare past and future being a god from outside, born are both of them with fire. Master Eckhart, the 13th century spiritual teacher, summed it all beautifully: time is what keeps the light from teaching us. There is no greater obstacle to God than time. Accessing the power of now. Assessing the power of the now. A moment ago, when you talked about eternal present and unreality of past and future, I found myself looking at the tree outside the window. I had looked at it a few times before, but this time it was different. The external perception hadn't changed much, except that the colors seemed brighter and more vibrant. But there was now an added dimension to it. This is hard to explain. I didn't know how, but I was aware of something invisible that I felt was the sense of that tree, its inner spirit, if you like. And somehow I was part of that. I realize now that I haven't truly seen the tree before, just a flat and dead image of it. When I look at the tree now, some of that awareness is still present, but I can feel it slipping away. You see, the experience is already sitting into past. Can something like this ever be more than a fleeting glimpse? You were free of time for a moment. You moved into the now and therefore nor perceived the tree without the screen of mind. The awareness of being becomes a part of your perception. With the timeless dimension comes a different kind of knowing, one that doesn't kill the spirit that lives within every culture and everything. A knowing that doesn't destroy the earnest and mystery of life, but contains a deep love and reverence for all that is. A knowing of which the mind knows nothing. The mind cannot know the tree, it can only know the facts or information about the tree. My mind cannot know you, only labels, judgments, facts, and opinions about you. Being alone knows directly. There is a place for mind and mind knowledge. It is a practical realm of day to day living. However, when it takes over all aspects of your life, including your relationship with other humans beings and with nature, it becomes the most serious parasite that unchecked may well end up killing all life on the planet and finally itself by killing its host. You have had a glimpse of how the timeless can transfer your perception, but an experience is not enough now, no matter how beautiful or profound. What is needed and what we are concerned with is a permanent shift in consciousness. So break the old pattern of present moment, the denial and present moment resistance. Make it your practice to withdraw attention from past and futures whenever they are not needed. Step out of the time dimensions as much as possible in everyday life. If you find it hard to enter in the now, directly start by observing the habitual tendency of your mind to want to escape from the now. You will observe that the future is usually imagined as either better or worse than the present. If the imagined future is better, it gives you hope or pleasurable anticipations. If it is worse, it creates anxiety. Both are illusory. Through self-observations, more presence came into your life automatically. The moment you realize you are not a present, you are present. Whenever you are able to observe your mind, you are no longer trapped in it. Another factor has come in something that is not of the mind, the witnessing presence. Represent as the watcher of your mind, of your thoughts and emotions, as well as your actions in the various situations. Be at least as interested in your reactions as in situations or persons that causes you to react. Notice also how often your attention is in the past or future. Don't judge or analyze what you observe, was thought. Feel the emotions, observe the reaction. Don't make a personal problem out of them. You will then feel something more powerful than any of those things that you observe. But still, observing presence itself behind the content of your mind, the silent watcher. Intense presence is needed when certain situations trigger reactions with a strong emotions, such as when you are self-image is threatened. So silence comes into your life that triggers fears, things go wrong, or an emotional complex from the past is brought up. In those instances, the tendency is for you to become unconscious. The reaction or the emotion takes over you becomes it. You act it out. You justify, make wrongs, attack, defend, accept that it isn't you. It is a reactive pattern. The mind and in its habitual survival mode. Identification of the mind gives more energy. Observation of the mind reduces energy from it. Identification of the mind creates more time. Observation of the mind opens up the dimension of the timeless. The energy that is withdrawn for the mind turns into presence. Once you can feel what it means to be present, it becomes much easier to simply choose to step out of the time dimensions. Whenever time is not needed for practical purpose and more deeply into now, then this doesn't impair your ability to use time past to future when you need to refer to it for the practical matters, nor does it impair your ability to use your mind. In fact, it enhances it when you do use in your mind. It will serve more purpose. Letting go of psychological time. Letting go of psychological time, not to use the time in a particular aspect of your life. We may call this clock time, but immediately return to the present moment awareness when those practical matters have been dealt with. In this way, there will be no build-up of psychological time when which is identification of the past and continuous composite projection into future. Clock time is not just making an appointment or planning a trip. It includes learning from the past so that we don't repeat the same mistake over and over. Setting goals and working towards them, predicting future by means of patterns and laws, physical, mathematical, and so on, learn from us and taking appropriate actions on the basis of our predictions. But even here within this sphere of practical living where we can and not do without reference to past and future, the present moment remains the essential factor. Any lesson from the past becomes relevant and applied now. Any planning as well as working toward achieving a particular goal is done now. The United person's main focus of the attention is always now, but they are still peripherally aware of time. In other words, they continue to use clock time but are free of psychological time. We all are as you practice this so that you do not unwittingly transform the clock into time into psychological time. For example, if you made a mistake in the past and learn from it now, you are using clock time. On the other hand, if you dwell on it mentally and self-criticism, remorse or guilt come up, then you are making the mistake into me and mind. You make it part of a sense of self and it has become psychological time, which is always linked to a false sense of identity. Non-forgiveness necessarily implies a heavy burden of psychological time. If you set yourself a goal and work toward it, you are using a clock time. You are aware of where you want to go, but you honor and give your fullest attention to step that you are taking at this moment. If you then become excessively focused on the goal, perhaps because you are seeking happiness, fulfillment, or a more complete sense of self, in it, the now is no longer honored and it becomes reduced to a mere stepping stone to the future, so the no intrinsic value. Clock time then turned into psychological time. Your life, its journey is no longer an adventurous and obsessive needs to arrive to attend to make it. You no longer see or smell the flowers by the wayside either, nor are you aware of the beauty and the miracle of life that unfolds all around you when you are present in the now. I can see the supreme importance of the now, but I cannot quite go along with you when you say that time is a complete illusion. When I say time is an illusion, my intention is to not make a philosophical statement. I'm just reminding you of a simple fact, a fact so obvious that you may find it hard to grasp and may even find it meaningless. But once fully realized, it can cut like a sword through all the mind, creating layers of complexity and problems. Let me say it again, the present moment is all you ever had. There is never a time when your life is not this moment is this not a fact. The insanity of psychological time. You will not have any doubt that psychological time is a mental disease if you look at its collective manifestations. It occurs, for example, in the form of ideological such as communism, national socialism, or any nationalism, or these religious belief systems which operate under the implicit assumption that the highest good lies in the future and therefore the end justifies the means. The end is an idea or point in the mind project futures when the salvations in whatever form, happiness, fulfillment, equality, liberations, and so on will be attained. Not infrequently, the means of getting there are enfranchisement, torture, and murder of people in the present. For example, it is estimated that as many as 50 million people were murdered to further the cause of communism, to bring about a better world in Russia, China, and other countries. This is a chilling example of how belief in the future's heaven creates a present hell. Can there be any doubt that psychological time is serious and dangerous mental illness? How does a mind pattern operate in your life? Are you always trying to get somewhere other than where you are? Is most of your doing just a means to an end? Is fulfillment always just around the corner or confined to short-lived phases such as sex, food, drink, jobs, or thrills and excitement? Are you always focused on becoming, achieving, and attending, or alternatively chasing some new thrill or pleasure? Do you believe that if you acquire more things, you will become more fulfilled, good enough, or psychologically complete? Are you waiting for a man or a woman to give a meaning to your life? In the normal, mind-identified or unenlightened state of consciousness, the power and infinite creative potential that lie concealed in the now are completely obscured by psychological time. Your life then loses its vibrancy, its freshness, its sense of wonder. The old patterns of thought, emotion, behavior, reaction, and desires are acted out in the endless repeat performance. A script in your mind that gives you an identity of sorts but distorts or covers up reality of the now. The mind that creates an obsession with the future as an escape from the unsatisfactory present. Negativity and suffering have their roots in the time, but the belief that the future will be better than the present is not always an illusion. The present can be dreadful and things can get better in the future, and often they do. Usually, the future is a replica of the past. Superficial changes are possible, but real transformation is rare and depends upon whether you can become present enough to dissolve the past by assessing the power of now. What you perceive as the future is an intrinsic part of your state of consciousness now. If your mind carries a heavy burden of past, you will experience more of the same. The past, as perpetuates itself through lack of presence. The quality of your consciousness at this moment is what shapes the futures, which of course can only be experienced as the now. You may have won $10 million, but that kind of change is no more than a skin deep. You will simply continue to act out the same condition pattern in the more luxurious surroundings. You might have learned to split the atom instead of killing 10 or 20 people with a wooden club. One person can now kill a million just by pushing a button. Is that real change? If it is the quality of the consciousness at this moment that determines the futures, then what is that determines the quality of consciousness? Your degree of presence. So the only place where true changes can occur and where the past can be dissolved is the now. All negativity is caused by accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fears are caused by too much futures and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievance, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. Most people find it difficult to believe that a state of consciousness totally free of all negativity is possible, and yet this is a liberated state to which all spiritualities point. It is a promise to salvation not in an illusionary future but right here and now. You may find it hard to recognize that time is the cause of your suffering or your problem. You believe that they are caused by a specific situation in your life, and seen from the conventional viewpoint, this is true. But until you have dealt with the basic problem, making it a function of mind, its attachment of the past to futures and denial of now, problems are actually interchangeable. If all your problems or perceived cause of suffering or unhappiness were or miraculously removed for you today, but you had not become more present, more conscious, you would soon find yourself with similar set of problems or cause of suffering like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. Ultimately, there is only one problem, the time-bound mind itself. I cannot believe that I could ever reach a point where I am completely free of my problem. You are right. You can never reach the point because you are at that point now. There is no salvation in time. You cannot be free in future. Presence is the key to freedom, so you can only be free now. Finding the life underneath your life situation. I see how can I be free now. As it happens, I am extremely unhappy with my life at the moment. This is a fact, and I would be letting myself if I try to convince myself that all is well when it is definitely so. To me, the present moment is very unhappy. It is not liberating at all. What keeps me going is the hope or possibility of some improvement in the future. You think that your attention is in the present moment when it's actually taken up completely by time. You cannot be both unhappy and fully present in the now. What you refer to as your life should be more accurately be called your life situations. It is psychological time, past and future. Certain things in the past didn't go the way you wanted them to go. You are still resisting what happened in the past, and now you are resisting what is. Hope is what keeps you going, but hope keeps you focused on the future, and this continuous focus perpetuates your denial of the now and therefore your happiness. Is it true that my present life situation is a result of things that happened in the past, but it is still my present situations and being stuck in it is what makes me unhappy? Forget about your life situation for a while and pay attention to your life. What is the difference? Your life situation exists in time. Your life is now. Your life situation is mind stuff. Your life is real. Find a narrow gauge that leads to life. It is called the now. Narrow your life down to this moment. Your life situations may be full of problems. Most life situations are, but find out if you have any problem at this moment. Not tomorrow or in 10 minutes, but now. Do you have a problem now? When you are full of problems, there is no room for anything new to in for anything new to enter, no room for a solution. So whenever you can make some room, create some space so that you can find the life underneath your life situations. Use your sense fully, be where you are. Look around, just look, don't interpret. See the light, shapes, colors, textures. Be aware of the silent presence of each thing. Be aware of a space that allows everything to be. Listen to the sound, don't judge them. Listen to the silence underneath the sound. Touch some things, anything, and feel and acknowledge its being. Observe the rhythms of your breath in, feel the air flowing in and out. Feel the life energy inside your body. Allow everything to be within and without. Allow the business of all things move deeply into the now. You are leaving behind the deadening world of a mental abstraction of time. You are getting out of insane mind that is draining you of life energy just as it is slowly poisoning and destroying the earth. You are waking out of the dream of time into the present. All problems are illusions of the mind. It feels as if a heavy burden has been lifted, a sense of lightness. I feel clear, but my problems are still there waiting for me, aren't they? They haven't been solved. Am I not just temporarily avoiding them? If you find yourself in a paradise, it wouldn't be long before your mind would say yes, but ultimately it is not about solving a problem, it's about realizing that there are no problems. Only situations to be dealt with now or be left alone and accepted as a part of easiness of the present moment until they change or can be dealt with. Problems are mind made and need time to survive. They cannot survive in the actuality of now. Focus your attention on the now and tell me what problems you have at this moment. I'm not getting any answer because it is impossible to have a problems with your attention is fully in the now. A situation that need to be either dealt with or accepted. Yes. Why make it into a problem? Why make anything into a problem? Isn't the life challenging enough as it is? What do you need a problem for? The mind unconsciously loves problems because they give an identity of self. This is normal and it is insane. Problems means that you are dwelling on a situation mentally without there being a true intentions or the possibility of taking action now and that you are unconsciously making it a part of your sense of self. You become also overwhelmed by your life situation that you lose your sense of life of being or you are carrying in your mind the insane burden of 100 things that you will or may have to do in the future instead of focusing your attention on the one thing that you can do now. When you create a problem, you create pain. All it takes is a simple choice, a simple decision. No matter what happens, I will create no more pain for myself. I will create no more problems. Although it is a simple choice, it is also very radical. You won't make that choice unless you are truly fed up with suffering, unless you have truly had enough, and you won't be able to grow through with it unless you access the power of the now. If you create no more pain for yourself, then you create no more pain for others. You also no more contaminate the beautiful art, your inner space, and the collective human psyche with the negativity of problem making. If you have ever been in the life or death emergency situation, you will know that it wasn't a problem. The mind didn't have the time to fool around and make it into a problem. In the two emergencies, the mind stopped. You became totally present in the now, and some things infinitely more powerful takes over. This is why there are many reports of ordinary people suddenly became capable of incredibly courageous street. In any emergency, either you survive or you don't. Either way, it is not a problem. Some people get angry when they hear me say that problems are illusions. I'm threatening to take away their sense of who they are. They have invested so much time in the false sense of self. For many years, they have unconsciously defined their whole identity in terms of their problems or their suffering. Who would they be without it? A great deal of people say things or do is actually motivated by fears, which of course is always linked to the having your focus on the futures and being out of touch with the now. As there are no problems in the now, there is no fear either. So the situations arise that you need to deal with the now, your actions will be clear and inclusive of. If it arises out of present moment awareness, it is also more likely to be effective. It will not be reaction coming from the past conditioning of your mind, but an intuitive response to our situations. In other instance, when the time-bound mind would have reacted, you will find it more effective to do nothing, to stay centered in the now. A quantum leap in the evolutions of consciousness. I have had glimpses of that. This state of freedoms from mind and time that you describe, but past and futures are so overwhelmingly strong that I cannot keep them out for long. The time-bound mode consciousness is deeply embedded in the human psyche, but what we are doing here is a part of profound transformation that is taking place in the collective consciousness of the planet and beyond, the awakening of consciousness from the dream of matter, form, and separation, the ending of time. We are breaking mind patterns that have dominated human life for eons, mind patterns that have created unimaginable suffering on the vast scale. I am not using the word evils, it is more helpful to call it unconsciousness or insanity. This breaking up of the old mode of consciousness, or rather unconsciousness, it is something we have to do it, or will it happen anyway? I mean, is this change inevitable? That's the question, the perspective. The doing and the happening is in the fact of single process because you are one with the totality of consciousness, you cannot separate the two. But there is no absolute guarantee that humans will make it. The process is not inevitable or automatic. Your cooperation is an essential part of it. However, you look at it, it is a quantum leap in the evolutions of consciousness well as our only chance of survival as a race. The joy of being. To allow you have allowed yourself to be taken over by psychological time, you can use a simple criterion. Ask yourself: Is there joy, is and lightness in what I am doing? If there isn't, then the time is covering of the present moment, and the life is perceived as a burden or a struggle. If there is no joy, ease, or lightness in what you are doing, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change what you are doing. It may be sufficient to change the how. How is always more important than what. See if you can give much more attention to doing than to result that you want to actually prove it. Give your full attention to whatever the moment is present. This implies that you also completely accept what is because you cannot give your full attention to something that and at the same time it resists it. As soon as you honor the present moment, all unhappiness and struggle is solved, and the life begins to flow with its joy and ease. When you act out of the present moment awareness, whatever you do begins to involve with a sense of quality, care, and love, even the most simple action. So do not concern with the fruit of your action, just give attention to the action itself. The fruit will come in of its own accord. This is the powerful spiritual practice in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the oldest and most beautiful spiritual teachings in existence. Non-attachment to the fruit of your action is called karma yoga. It is described as a path of concentrated action. When the compass is striving away from the now ceases, the joy of being flows into everything you do. The moment your attention turns to now, you feel a presence, a stillness, a peace. You no longer depend on the futures for fulfillment and satisfactions. You don't look to it for salvation. Therefore, you are not attached to the result. Neither failure nor success has the power to change your state of being. You have found the life underneath of your situations. In the absence of psychological time, your sense of self is derived from being, not from the personal past. Therefore, the psychological need to become anything other than who you are already is no longer there. In the world, on the level of your life situations, you may indeed become wealthy, knowledgeable, successful, free of this and that, but in the deeper dimension of being, you are complete and whole now. In that state of wholeness, would we still be able to willing to pursue external goals? Of course, but you will have an illusionary expectation that anything or anybody in the future will save you or make you happy. As far as your life situation is concerned, there are many things to be attained or acquired. That is all for a world of form of gain and loss. It on the deeper level you are already complete, and when you realize that there is a playful joyous energy behind what you do. Being free of psychological time, you no longer pursue your goals with the grim determination driven by fears, anger, discontent, or need to become someone, nor will you keep remain inactive through your fear of failure, which is the ego of the loss of self. When you deep a sense of self is derived from being, when you are free of becoming and psychological needs, neither your happiness nor your sense of self depends on the outcome, and so there is a freedom from fear. You don't seek the permanency where it cannot be found in the world of forms of the lost skin and lost birth, and that you don't demand situations, conditions, places that people should make you happy, then suffer when they don't live up to your expectations. Everything is ordered, but nothing matters. Forms are born and die, yet you are aware of internal underneath and forms. You know that nothing real can be threatened. When this is your state of being, how can you not succeed? You have succeeded already. Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, this was the chapter 3, and I hope you have really enjoyed the video. And if you have enjoyed the video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.